Welcome to 11010 Santa Monica Boulevard. My name is Kevin Murray, and I am the president and CEO of the Weingart Center. We built and developed this facility, 51 units of veterans and senior housing. We built it in a modular method with organized labor. It took us from breaking ground to actually getting close to opening it to about 13 months. So it was built very quickly and efficiently, and it is in this beautiful neighborhood of Westwood. And I want to, frankly, it took a little work, but I want to thank the community for helping us do this. I also want to give a particular shout out to our business organizations, the LA Business Council and Central City Association, and the Greater Los Angeles African American Council, because I think they are forward-thinking organizations who have decided to partner with us, not just on their parochial business interests, but also on trying to make our communities better all the way around. And this is a perfect example of the kind of facility you can build with the funds that are going to come, hopefully, from Measure A. And with that, I'd like to introduce the greatest mayor, America's mayor, Mayor Karen Bass.
Good morning, everyone. This is wonderful to be out here, and thank you so much, Kevin, for your leadership with all of the developments and the works that you have done to house Angelenos. I also want to thank Sheriff Luna, the Business Council, the Central City Association, the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce, and the Hospital Association, all of us standing together, unified, endorsing Measure A. We need everyone in Los Angeles County to understand that if Measure A does not pass, critical funding for homeless shelter services and housing will be lost, triggering a 25% increase in homelessness. We cannot afford to go backward. Measure A will make sure that thousands of people stay housed. For the first time in years, we have seen a decrease in homelessness. We cannot go backwards. Measure A represents the change we need to turn the corner on this crisis. It moves people from tents into care, mental health and substance abuse treatment, removing encampments and getting people the help they need. More mental health treatment is a big change from the status quo, and I hear it all the time. Everyone in the city knows we need more mental health treatment. Measure A is uniquely accountable. It was clear to me when I started my administration that we had to get people off the street, but at the same time, we had to make fundamental change to the system. We all know it has been broken. Measure A does just that. Written into the measure are clear outcomes and expectations. Money will be taken away from programs that do not deliver results. I want to make it clear that I mean business, and Measure A means business. I spent years treating patients at LA County's emergency room, so I know firsthand of what it means for our hospitals and emergency rooms to be overcrowded and overwhelmed by the homelessness crisis. People on the street are not going to get the help they really need in the emergency room. And frankly, everyone's safety is affected when the emergency room is overcrowded or has to turn patients away. This is why I am so excited that the Hospital Association of Southern California, and I know that Measure A will improve care for everyone. Sheriff Luna knows this too. Measure A will deliver services that will free up deputies and LAPD officers to focus on violent crime. And business leaders know that Measure A will alleviate the crisis to bring companies back to office buildings and make customers and diners feel safe. So don't wait for Election Day. Election Day has already started. Everyone should have their ballot by now. Fill it out immediately and vote yes on Measure A. Now let me bring up LA County's Sheriff, Sheriff Luna.
Do it, Chad. Don't worry. Thank you, Mayor. What a cheerleader, huh? It's nice to be standing next to her. And as I'm standing up here, I do want to thank the mayor, not only for being here today, but her leadership in dealing with the unhoused issue in the city of Los Angeles. It's humbling to be standing next to her in all of her efforts and the team that you see around me. I also just want to give a shout out to the Weingarth group and all the work that they do every day for the people who are unhoused that are our neighbors. There are people we shouldn't just be walking by, so thank you for the work that you do. Why am I here today? I know when you think about law enforcement, sometimes people say, well, we're dealing with the unhoused. They look at law enforcement, they say, well, you're going to put somebody in jail. Actually, I'm here for just the opposite. If we come together and pass Measure A, I believe that keeps people away from jail because we're able to provide people housing, the services that they need, so that they don't get themselves in trouble, behaviors that lead to potential incarceration. That becomes very important. So we're here to continue to make sure that our law enforcement officers, our first responders, continue to have options to help people dealing with homelessness, mental health, and addiction. So it doesn't lead to possible incarceration. People left living on the street become extremely vulnerable, becoming victims of crime, and are unlikely to get the mental health and addiction services that they need. Our first responders and outreach workers need these resources to get people the help and housing and treatment that they so desperately need. Measure A will make sure that current funding will not run out, leaving people who need these services without options. And again, I'm up here because we need options. I want law enforcement to keep our streets safe and focus on reducing crime in every one of our neighborhoods. To do that, we need to house people, get them treatment, and get them off the streets. Our sheriff host teams do incredible work every day, and they're out there to support this humanitarian crisis that we're talking about. At the end, fundamentally and basically, it's about helping our neighbors, keeping our neighborhood safe, and that's what we're here to do. That's why we're pushing Measure A, because it will help move people from encampments, from tents, into treatment and services to make our streets safer and, most importantly, to save people's lives. That's why we're having this collective effort today. So I urge the residents of Los Angeles County to vote yes on Measure A and to make sure that our first responders have as many options as possible so we can respond to people struggling with homelessness, mental health, and addiction. Now it is my absolute honor to introduce Los Angeles Business Council President Mary Leslie. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Mary Leslie, President of Los Angeles Business Council, and on behalf of myself and our board chair, David Nahai, I'm pleased to have LA staff here with us also today because we're here to endorse Measure A. Why? Well, thanks to the leadership of Mayor Bass, I think we felt compelled to take this quite seriously, and because of the progress we saw being made and because of the accountability we see in this measure. It is particularly satisfying to be here at 1011 Santa Monica Boulevard in West LA with Kevin Murray. Years ago, the LABC got involved in this project when it was a city parking lot, and we supported this becoming an affordable housing project. We created a working group of experts who shared best practices, and we focused in on design and cost. And we saw that this project and why we're endorsing Measure A is the level of accountability, that it comes in on budget, it has the right design, and it provides the services. Measure A addresses the scale of the region's affordable housing crisis. It's because of this funding we'll be able to build more housing, provide services to those most vulnerable. The funding is absolutely critical to address the region's housing and service needs. Measure A will use public financing leverage to leverage private investment, the exact type of incentives that enables construction at the scale that is needed. And beyond new construction, Measure A dollars will support preservation of existing affordable housing, which is extremely important to our overall strategy. In the absence of a sustained public fund for housing, which the mayor talked about, the ambitious housing goals that we have in LA will not be achieved. La Casa, the new agency that will help direct a significant amount of funding to housing construction, preservation, and services, will streamline and attract private capital, which will increase the investment in LA County. 40% of the tax revenue for La Casa goes directly into affordable housing preservation production and will bolster our economy in the county and provide incentives to developers. According to a new study from LA for LA and HRNA, the passage of Measure A would create a $3.1 billion annual economic impact for the LA County. The measure generates a 2.5% return to the county's economy for every dollar invested, and it would create 28,000 local jobs annually. So that's why LABC, as a business organization, supports this measure. It provides the crucial funding for new housing. It has important accountability mechanisms to ensure the dollars are spent appropriately. It incentivizes private investment, and it creates tens and thousands of jobs. So please vote yes on Measure A and take this critical step towards sustainable long-term solutions for LA. And it is also my pleasure, on behalf of Jean Hale, who cannot be with us today, and the African American Chamber, our colleagues, to also offer their support. They have taken a supported position on Measure A for the exact same reasons. So, thank you, and go Dodgers. And it is my honor to introduce Nella McCosker, President and CEO of the Central City Association.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning, everyone. As Mary said, Nella McCosker, President and CEO of Central City Association. We're an advocacy membership-based organization, and there have been some excellent sort of comments and remarks today about the human and moral case for this measure, the housing production that it creates that Mary just mentioned, but I'm gonna focus on the business case for downtown Los Angeles. And that's because CCA, its 100-year history, its mission is focused on downtown LA. And businesses we know in our city center are struggling. This is true, of course, for other CBDs across the county and the region. But in thinking about what's the single greatest thing we can do to support a struggling business, or what's the single challenge that, if solved, would most drastically improve downtown's economy, it's, of course, homelessness. Uplifting the quality of life in the public realm, improving perceptions of public safety. If we lose funding, existing funding, to both solve and prevent this challenge, there's no section of the city that stands to lose more than downtown. And businesses themselves, of course, will face the same challenge. Homelessness is the public crisis of our time. At CCA, we don't ignore the fact that the crisis is most concentrated in the heart of our city, and it compounds the challenges that we see of office vacancies, shuttered restaurants, empty storefronts. So after a long deliberative process amongst our board and leadership at CCA, we have taken a supportive stance on Measure A. Businesses, residents, visitors, to thrive, we need to make a meaningful and measurable progress in this crisis. Key to this support, of course, and I know many up here at the podium share this, is the accountable and transparent use of funds that has been built into the measure. That is part of the leadership we have seen from Mayor Bass and her colleagues, and we want to ensure that sections of the city who face the highest concentration of unhoused Angelenos receive their fair share of resources. Thank you for being here. Let's get this measure passed. Yes on Measure A, and it is my pleasure to now introduce Adina Tessler, Regional Vice President of the Hospital Association of Southern California. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. The Hospital Association of Southern California proudly stands alongside Mayor Bass and our business and community leaders in supporting Measure A. This critical initiative represents a proactive approach to addressing homelessness in our region, particularly for individuals struggling with mental health and addiction. By safeguarding essential funding, Measure A ensures that our healthcare providers can continue to offer life-saving treatment and support services to those who need it most, while also alleviating the strain on our hospitals and enabling them to better serve the communities of Los Angeles. Our hospitals see firsthand the impact that untreated mental health and addiction issues can have on individuals and our communities. Measure A provides a clear path to redirect people from the streets and into treatment, focusing resources where they will make a measurable difference. It is an essential step in improving the health and well-being of our most vulnerable populations and ensuring that healthcare systems can continue to deliver quality care to all residents. We urge voters to support Measure A for a healthier, safer, and more compassionate Los Angeles. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce Arturo Snyder, CEO of Prime Store.
Buenos días a todos. Digamos sí a la A. Arturo Snyder, soy el director ejecutivo de Prime Store, una empresa que lleva 35 años en Los Ángeles haciendo desarrollo e impacto comunitario. Y es un gran honor para mí estar aquí con nuestra alcaldesa Karen Bass y con todos los líderes de la comunidad privada y del sector público. Es esencial que le digamos sí a la medida A porque tenemos la realidad de que nuestros sectores se impactan inmensamente con la creación de empleos, también como lo que es ayudar a nuestra comunidad diversa en todo el área de Los Ángeles. Pero es esencial que podemos tener la iniciativa de crear vivienda, pero si no tenemos los recursos, no llegamos a la realidad, nuestros sueños de tener un margen equitativo para todos los que lo requieren y lo necesitan. Es importante también entender que estamos aquí en una facilidad del Weingarten Foundation con la visión de nuestra alcaldesa y con los líderes de la ciudad de que este tipo de vivienda puede existir en todas las partes de Los Ángeles y es esencial que tengamos presencia en toda la diversidad que tenemos en nuestra comunidad. Representando al sector privado, les ejerzo que por favor votemos sí a la medida A y logramos llevar a cabo el liderazgo que se requiere, ya teniendo a nuestra alcaldesa aquí con esa visión y ese liderazgo que es tan esencial. Y no se hable más de un gran líder de nuestra comunidad. Es un gran honor para mí invitar a Miguel Santana, el director ejecutivo del California Community Foundation. Miguel.
Buenos dias. My name is Miguel Santana. I am an Angeleno. I am president and CEO of the California Community Foundation, and I'm also one of 5 Angelenos who have placed Measure A on the countywide ballot. And it's important to emphasize that point because unlike previous measures, this measure comes from the people of Los Angeles. We worked very hard to take the best lessons learned from previous interventions and apply them to this measure. At the center of Measure A is accountability and reform. The mayor and the board of supervisors, as well as the other elected officials throughout the county, will be required to adopt 5-year goals. They have to demonstrate how we're going to reduce homelessness on the street, how we're going to expand services for those suffering from addiction and mental health issues. And they have to demonstrate clearly how we're going to make housing affordable for all Angelenos. This is a reform and accountability measure, and has been stated by everyone here, without this measure, one thing we know is true. We will see a significant increase of unhoused people. Mayor Bass has demonstrated when you focus, when you treat people on the street and move them straight into housing, and you do it in coordination with the county and the state and the federal government, you can reduce homelessness. And in 1 year, she was able to reduce street homelessness in the city of Los Angeles by 10%. That effort is just a small example of what Measure A will produce. Every part of the county will receive a benefit of Measure A. From Pomona to Long Beach to the Antelope Valley, each community will receive its own funding so that they could adopt the best solutions in their own community. And affordable housing will be in all communities, not just the city, but in the San Gabriel Valley, in the San Fernando Valley, and throughout LA County. Cities that are motivated to build housing will have finally the support to do so. The last thing I want to share is that I represent a broad coalition of labor, of community activists, of business, of educators, of healthcare professionals who are working tirelessly to get this measure before our voters and to have voters vote yes on Measure A. Thank you all for being here. I'm happy to invite questions from the audience.
How much is this going to cost the average taxpayer in the County of Los Angeles?
There is currently a quarter-cent tax that we all pay. So this adds another quarter to that. And so it is not a significant increase to what regular Angelenos currently pay. We know that the number one issue that Angelenos care about is affordable housing. Every community has described that affordable housing is what makes them struggle when you're paying 0.5% of your salary just to have a place to live, then that is where all your dollars are going. So we are providing relief for that particular problem that most Angelenos care about.
So on the 5-year goal, if those goals are not met, then what are the consequences?
So the measure specifically states that programs that are not working have to be put aside, and those resources have to go to those programs that are working. So this measure was designed to ensure that we're only supporting those things that have a proven track record that are reaching the outcomes that are needed.
Do you guys have any fears? And I understand there was some progress made on homelessness in this last year, but do you have any concerns that taxpayers are a little bit fatigued and they might not go for this? They might not have the confidence to vote in support of this?
So we know that taxpayers are frustrated. We're all frustrated. And it's from that frustration that Measure A was developed, because we took all the lessons learned from previous efforts and took those lessons and applied it directly. What this does is creates accountability. It creates one system with one set of goals. We took the best practices from around the country where we're actually seeing a decline of unhoused people. And so this measure is informed by that frustration.
Mayor Bass, do you mind expanding on that and telling us what you think is the most important accountability measure put into this?
Sure. You know, when I took over, I declared a state of emergency on day one because to me, the number one issue was to get people off the streets and into housing. But what I believe that we have to do is we have to set up outcome measures. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that it's not as though we just don't want to share numbers. The current system was not set up that way. So what we've been doing is we've been housing people and transforming the system at the same time. Measure A will really allow us to do that because it is addressing the fundamental problems in the current system by setting in the outcome and the transparency and the accountability measures with consequences if they're not met. That is not in the current system. Measure A will make corrections to the current system.
And I know you did have progress this year, but are you at all concerned that those previous years may have an impact on voters?
Oh, absolutely I am, which is why we started with street homelessness. So people in neighborhoods where encampments have disappeared, businesses will tell you that customers now are not afraid to go to my business. Homeowners will tell you that their neighborhoods are safer where the encampments have been removed and the people have been housed. We have not just been moving people from one block to the next. We've been moving people into housing. And so where we have been able to move people, people absolutely feel a difference. We want that to stay. So if you can imagine this, if Measure A doesn't pass, a 25% increase in homelessness, absolutely, I'm very concerned about that. That's why it has to pass.
Yes on A. Yes on A.
By the way, I like to
World Series. Yes.
Okay, can you give me like the top one that's
So there are 5 very specific accountability expectations laid out in the measure. Number 1, reduce the number of people experiencing homelessness from the street into housing. Number 2, expand services for those suffering from addiction and mental illness. Number 3, expand the number of affordable housing units throughout the county. So those are the 3 primary ones that are clearly outlined in the measure. Every 5 years, the elected officials who are responsible for implementing this program are required to set those goals, and those goals will be audited to determine how successful they've been, and those audits will be public. And so, unlike previous efforts, we're actually going to see the progress, and when we fail to meet those goals, we'll know why it's needed.
Let me ask a follow-up though. So you're saying the accountability will be to expand. One is an expansion. Is there a threshold of expansion that's considered success versus failure?
So we know that in Los Angeles County, the reason why housing is not affordable is because we're short 500,000 units of housing. And so that expectation is clear. And so every year, the goal is to narrow that gap.
By how much?
Well, those goals will be established every year. It's informed by both the point in time count that we do annually. It's informed by other data. It's informed by the population increasing. So the goal here is to ensure that we're constantly evaluating what's working and not working and make adjustments along the way.
Sir,
Who gets to decide what's not working?
So the way it works is that there's going to be independent audits. They're going to evaluate the progress that's being made, and those audits will look at what are some of the challenges to fully implement those. There is a group of citizens of Angelenos that are playing an oversight role and will be informing the public of what's working and what's not, and laying out clear expectations for those in elected office to change the way the resources are being distributed to ensure that we're focusing on those things that are working.
Can you give us your full name and title again? Sorry.
Sure. My name is Miguel Santana. I'm president and CEO of the California Community Foundation.
Yes. Mayor, do you have anything to say about the Dodger win yesterday?
Yes, I thought it was a spectacular game, an incredible win, and the Dodgers and the Yankees the first time in decades, so this is very, very exciting. I always talk about 2026 in terms of all of these events. We have Friday, 2024 World Series, and we're going to take it all the way.
Yes, on it. Yes, on it. Yes, on it.
Thank you, everyone.